Battlestar Galactica is set in a distant star system where a civilization of humans lives on a group of planets known as the 12 Colonies of Kobol. In the past, the colonies had been at war with an android race of their own creation, known as the Cylons. With the unwitting help of a human scientist named Gaius Balter, Callus, the Cylons launch a sudden sneak attack on the colonies, laying waste to the planets and devastating their populations. Out of a population of several billion, there are about 50,000 human survivors. Most were aboard civilian spaceships that were not near the initial attacks. Of all the colonial fleet, the Battlestar Galactica, an older ship about to be decommissioned and turned into a museum, appears to be the only military capital ship that survived the attack. Under the leadership of Colonial Fleet Officer Commander William Bill Adama Olmos and President Laura Roslyn McDonnell, the Galactica and its crew take up the task of leading the small fleet of refugee survivors into space in search of a fabled 13th colony known as Earth. The series received critical acclaim at the time and since, including a Peabody Award, the Television Critics Association's Program of the Year Award, a placement inside Time's 100 Best TV Shows of All Time, and 19 Emmy nominations for its writing, directing, costume design, visual effects, sound mixing, and sound editing, with 3 Emmy wins: visual effects and sound editing. In 2019, the New York Times placed the show on its list of the 20 best TV dramas since 2007. The Sopranos, a period many critics call a golden age of television. The series was followed by the prequel spin-off TV series Caprica, which aired for 1 season in 2010. A further spin-off, Battlestar Galactica, Blood and Chrome, was released in November 2012 as a web series of 10 10-minute episodes and aired on February 10, 2013, on Sci-Fi as a televised movie. Bombings as a tactic. There's a consensus that with its 3rd season, the show has morphed into a stinging allegorical critique of America's 3-year occupation of Iraq, as the cameras record Cylon occupation raids on unsuspecting human civilians, with the night vision green familiar to any TV news viewer. The reasoning of the Cylons is horrifically familiar. They would prefer not to be brutal, but they won't accept the failure of a glorious mission. According to Slate, if this sounds like Iraq, it should. And, in unmistakable terms, Battlestar Galactica is telling viewers that insurgency, like, say, the one in Iraq, might have some moral flaws, such as the whole suicide bombing thing, but is ultimately virtuous and worthy of support. The really audacious stroke of this season was showing us a story about a suicide bomber from the point of view of the bomber and his comrades, because the cause of this terrorist was unquestioningly our own. We sympathize with the insurgents wholeheartedly. If the Cylon occupying force is an allegory of the coalition forces in Iraq, then some of the other references are equally controversial. The scene of the shiny, terrifying Cylon Centurions, a servant class of robots that actually look like robots, marching down the main road of New Caprica, while the devastated colonists looked on, was the Nazis marching into Paris. Although David Icke has said the production staff don't need to say, okay, let's do the episode where we're going to do the Abu Ghraib scandal, and points out that events depicted on New Caprica are as much a story rooted in political tales like the Vichy France or Vietnam, rather than current events, he acknowledges that they do gravitate in those directions when it comes to the storytelling.